I see so many couples make huge wedding-changing, budget-decimating mistakes when it comes to choosing their Italian wedding venue, and I don't want that for you. Ciao, I'm Lucy, and for the last decade, I've been planning Italian weddings. I've learned a thing or two about what it means to choose your venue. I love sharing my knowledge here on YouTube and over at Lista.com because I want you to have the most calm, carefree planning experience when planning your Italian wedding. Okay, so here's how we stop these major venue screw-ups. First thing is over-researching and under-preparing for your venue viewing trip. I get it, I've been there, I got married in Italy. You don't want to stop looking for that venue. You will not rest until you have found the venue that is perfect for you. And it can feel quite anxiety inducing. It can feel like there are endless venues out there and you are never going to find the one that is the best one that you could possibly get. But hear me out. There are not actually that many venues that are really good for weddings. And the really popular ones that you see on Instagram aren't always those ones. So let's nix that anxiety right now. You've got to set a really clear criteria for your wedding venue. That means literally working out what is most important to you with your venue. That could literally be things like where it is, what it looks like, the spaces that it has, how many beds it has, the price of it. There's so many things that it can be. We've actually got a wedding venue guide on lalista.com in our shop that you can get for just £11, and it details every single criteria that I check with my clients when I'm looking for a venue for them. Anyway, this criteria is crucial because it's actually going to set a benchmark for all these venues that you look at. It's going to stop you searching because so many of these venues are not going to hit your criteria. Without this, you're never going to quite pin down what it is you're actually looking for, and your search will go on forever. Also, it will lead to decision paralysis. You won't be able to decide what you want because you don't actually know. Now you've got to be really strict with yourself. Again, I know exactly how it goes. You're looking for venues. Some of them are saying that they're getting really busy. They've only got certain dates. They're giving you a week to decide whether you want the date or not. That's not viable. You cannot work under this pressure, and you have to get that information before you go and see the venue. You should not go and see a venue until you know it really well. You're literally going to be wasting your time, and these venue trips, people pack so much in, but they are absolutely exhausting and they take hours and hours. Traveling between the venue, you're going to spend an hour at least at each venue. What is the point of seeing venues that don't even meet your criteria? Don't do it. Be strict with yourself. Get the information that you can before you go and really arrange that trip well. If you want to come away with a venue that's going to actually suit you, that is the only way to do it. And if you can't get out to Italy and see your venue, then you really need to understand the venue. You need to get to the ins and outs. If you haven't got a planner, you've got to be booking a call with that venue and asking them absolutely every question that you can under the sun. Second mistake people make is accepting a bad customer experience. I see it so often. Again, you get a contract back and it's got errors in it. Really slow response times from the venue. You get handed between different members of staff and you don't even know who you're talking to anymore. These are all red flags for me when booking a venue. And if you've got a gut feeling that something isn't quite right, that gut feeling's not going to go. This is exactly how it's going to go for the rest of your wedding planning. So if you're happy with the service and you're locked into this feeling, I know it's really hard to let go of a venue if you absolutely love it and it meets loads of your criteria. But one of the most important criteria is the venue treating you like a customer and really looking after you and giving you that experience. As I say, that's going to continue throughout your wedding planning. So you're going to feel that vibe for the next year to 2 years. So trust your gut. If you feel something is off, don't settle for it. The third mistake is people compromise on their most important criteria. So you've set your criteria. At the top there, priority-wise, you've got, for example, the quality of the bedrooms for the guests, or how close it is to the airport, or whether it's got air conditioning. These are all things that, again, affect your guest. Guest-centric is key. Then you fall in love with the venue. It looks really beautiful. Maybe the budget's a bit better. Other things come into it, and your priorities start to shift a little bit. If you book a venue and you flip those priorities, pushing those bigger ones that were huge at the start and that are really important, looking after your guests, it's going to come back to bite you. One of the best pieces of advice I can give is not to compromise on those most important guest-centric practical pieces, because further down the line, imagine the vibe when your guests have travelled pretty far to get to your wedding and then they have to do a 4-hour journey to get to the venue. They get there, their room isn't as nice as they thought, but they've paid you a lot of money for it. There's no aircon, or something's not working. The way that they're greeted from the venue isn't quite so nice. You had that gut feeling from the start. These are the things that matter. These are the things that are going to affect how you feel watching your guests have that experience, also how your guests are going to show up to your wedding and the vibe that they're going to bring. So if you start switching around your criteria, again, you may absolutely fall in love with the aesthetic of a venue, but if it doesn't meet these other ones, it is going to affect your wedding in such a negative way. Then the fourth mistake is the old booking before actually budgeting. I'm big on budgets, and it's so important that before you book your venue, you do a thorough budget for that venue. Every single venue will come out different in a budget, obviously for the pricing of the actual venue. Then there's a bunch of rules and other fees that might come into it that you should have a buffer for. And then each different venue is going to have a different cost for transport, potentially the plan B, potentially all the different caterers. Catering costs can vary between venues for a number of different reasons. One of them might just be the layout. You might literally need more waiters. You should have this full picture before you book a venue so that you know the difference, the true difference between them. When I'm doing this for clients, I can see what looks like a very similar budget for all the different venues ends up being like 10 to 15 grand in difference. You need to be fully aware of that before you pick your venue. The fifth mistake is working under pressure. Again, I know fully how this goes. Oh my gosh, the pressure and keeping up with venues when they only give you a week to option your venue. So a week in which you need to decide whether you're going to book or they're going to give it to another couple. Oh my God, that is so stressful for you. You've got the venues that you like, you're trying to weigh up which one's going to be best. You've got all this information that you're trying to get on to grips with, and then it comes in, the venue that you love the most, they're only going to give you a week. What do you actually do? I say don't act under pressure. You may absolutely love that venue, but if you don't have enough information to be able to make an informed decision at that point, I think you've got to let it go. I think it's more important to get the right venue than get it at that exact time of year. I'd rather wait 6 months for my wedding and know that everything is right and I know absolutely everything about that venue and I can afford it rather than acting under pressure. And last but not least, something that we could not be more passionate about here at Lista is getting all of the venue rules totally clear. This is one of my biggest bugbears, hardest parts of planning, even again as a planner, having worked at so many venues now, asking all the right questions before booking a venue. The way that things work is that at some point, almost in every single case, a cost is going to come in that you weren't told about and that wasn't forecast. This is literally just how it goes, and as much as I hate it, I think it's something that we all need to accept at this point. You can ask a venue to have absolutely everything in the contract. You can ask a venue to show you all of the rules of planning there, all of the costs that might come up. They're never going to include everything. It's almost impossible. I've tried. For example, only just this weekend, a couple were charged a cleaning fee because they stayed up late, had a party after their caterers had gone home, and they left some glasses out. The venue had to clean it up. This cleaning fee was not in the contract, and this is a really prestigious venue that used to doing weddings. They're really legit. They're not trying to catch people out. Why is that cleaning fee not in the contract? Oh my God, it does my head in. Anyway, this can happen everywhere and anywhere. So there's a few things that we can do to come around this. Firstly, ask. Before you book the venue, put in writing that you need every single rule, every single cost that can come up when it comes to your wedding. If they don't have it all in the contract, they need a list of rules that they're going to send you. And then when you have that list of rules, you should think about what could actually happen in your wedding and which of those costs could foreseeably come in so that you've got a buffer for them. It's things like extra cleaning, maybe a charge for using certain spaces. They might charge you for using lighting that's already up. They may have rules around where your tents can be, kitchen fees. They may limit the vendors that you can work with, and that's going to impact your budget. Believe it or not every venue tells you these things before you book it. Just try your hardest to get this list. And then something I've recently introduced with my clients is when returning a contract, adding a little bit of text on that contract, whether in hand or kind of an adapted PDF, just to say the following. By signing this agreement, I trust the venue name have communicated all costs and rules of working at venue name through this process for our wedding date. We, the undersigned, are not liable to any further venue costs or rules that are stipulated later and outside of this contract. If there are further rules or costs that have not been communicated at the point of signing, we fundamentally will not agree to or pay these. Venues will not like that. Finally, have a buffer. As I said, at this point, even through everything I've tried, I think it's just has to be accepted that this might happen. You should have a buffer for this that is in your budget throughout planning, because it's almost inevitable that it's going to come up, and you don't want that to be an addition that comes onto your budget that comes later. You want it to be in there from the start, so that when you're picking other vendors, this has already been factored in. Cool. That was like therapy for me. Thanks for being here. I really hope that helped. And one of the whole reasons we built La Lista and our directory of venues is because we want to get as clear as possible with this. Every venue that we put on La Lista, we have vetted against our own internal criteria. And as you can imagine, we're pretty harsh. So you know that when you're booking a La Lista venue from our directory, you are getting one of the best venues, the clearest communication, the highest standards of venue that you can get in Italy. Go and check the directory out at lalista.com. And for more actionable, straight up, step-by-step advice, just like this video, you can head to my planning membership, The Club, on lalista.com. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time.